cocktail for the intro. Making a cocktail for the intro. Beautiful.
It's such ASMR.
Wheeler Park, just everyone fucking chugging the worst of the worst. Cheers, my love.
Well, even like, yeah, Brisbane was definitely like that as well.
Yeah, fucking everywhere. Did you look at that?
You're an audio engineer.
I mean, just the fucking sheer technical brilliance
Yeah.
here at the 𝐻𝕦𝕤 podcast. Hey, everybody, welcome back. It's the 𝐻𝕦𝕤 podcast. No fucking, didn't give any warning to our guest. We're having, I'll probably start the podcast with, like, when we make a second one, I'll make it on camera so I come out looking good. So I get a bit more confidence this week. So this might not be the intro, but intro, hey. This is Shannon. Hi, Shannon.
Hi.
Hi, my dear. You're matching the drapes. It's lovely.
That's usually what I try and do. Yeah, match the drapes.
Always match the drapes wherever you go.
Yeah, that's what my mum always said.
Nice. We're having a gin, cucumber, and basil smash something.
It's amazing.
And I was playing reggae up to fucking 2 minutes ago, like it's summer. I think after 10 days in London and just being in Berlin all winter, I'm just kind of like, my asshole is starting to like need the salt, you know?
Yeah.
You know when you miss like the salt on your taint? Or is that
I think that's a you exclusive thing, actually.
Yeah, that might be a me exclusive. Yeah. I don't know. We also have a bit more surface from like balls to asshole than you have from vagine to asshole.
Yeah.
And I feel like that area just facilitates the salt beautifully.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I don't know. Have you ever like gone down on people in the summer and then it's salty from the sea?
No, I've never noticed that. Yeah.
What the fuck? Oh, that's my favorite thing.
I mean, I'll try it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's all like island fucking in the summer. You're literally like, everyone's salty. It's so great.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I don't think I've had enough salt sex.
You fucking should, babes.
Yeah.
It's really
What am I
great.
doing?
Yeah, it's fun because I don't know. It might be either like sweat is also kind of salty, so I might. I don't know. No, it is actually.
Maybe just fucking sweaty people.
Sweaty, disgusting people.
Nothing to do
Yeah,
with
it's so
beach.
salty. I love it.
Yeah, did you go to the beach?
No, but it is salt. No, salt skin is like a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very enjoyable. I highly recommend it. Yeah.
Thank you so
much. You're going with your partner to Greece, maybe just dip him in the water a couple of times and then fucking have a taste, babe. Let's see.
I love that. Dip and sip. That's fun.
Yeah, that's why Greeks carry a little bit of olive oil. Kind of like
Hey.
dip there, get a little salt.
Amazing. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be lovely. Okay, we're going next week. What month is it? Yeah, it's still okay. It's still March. It's not going to be as...
I think it's April by the time we get there. It's like 1st of April.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah. Is that good? I would love to dip a toe, even just a toe in the water.
Yeah, I think you will. It depends. I mean, my mom was sending me pictures from the beach. It was but that's the island and that's very south.
Okay.
It depends because sometimes like in like Athens area, like it'll be really, really nice also like September, October. But then sometimes like March is worse than of all winter.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
So it kind of depends, but I think it'll be nice. It's never cold there anyway anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah, global warming is really doing
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's really...
Yeah.
December...
Good for Greece.
We're doing great. Yeah. Economy's thriving. The global...
I've heard that.
Yeah, the global warming is kind of giving us a tourism kick.
Yeah, nice. They have that building that's old.
They have the one old building that everyone visits.
Yeah.
It's going great for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've marketed the shit out of that building.
I can't wait to go and be like, when's it finished?
Yeah, yeah. You know how... have you seen that post of the pyramids of Giza and then the camera turns, because they always show you like the pyramids and the vast desert, and it looks like, and then if you look the other way, it's just like a whole bunch of like cities and buildings, and it looks sad. Like it's just kind of like. That's the same thing with the Acropolis. Like you always see the pictures of it standing on the rock.
Yeah.
But then the reality is like it's surrounded by buildings on either side. Like it's sad. It's just a sad.
Yeah.
I think anytime you go to like any sort of like ancient ruins or like temples, unless they're like Stonehenge, where it's like, oh, it's anyway out in the fucking like wilderness kind of vibe. Anything else that's in a city, you just go, and then the only sad thing is like you're looking around and being like, oh, that's an ATM there. It's like how mystical do you want this experience to be?
Yeah.
Surrounded by fucking, I don't know, people selling you like phone programs on the street with a fucking, you know those.
Oh yeah, well that's the thing, isn't it? Like every single like major, what do you call them? Big, what are they called? Wonders of the world or whatever.
What are they called? Wonders
yes,
of the world.
You know those ones? They're just like, it's never that good because it's just a fucking tourist trap.
No, it's a tourist trap. I mean, how can you enjoy anything while you're in a line with like 50 pasty Dutch and German people with fucking like they have the old day pass for all the things, and then they're children and they're all wearing the same fucking little hats, and they're just kind of bibbly bobbly, like what, like bibbly bobbling left and right, and you're like, how will I enjoy anything
anymore for the rest of my life? I think this has tainted my entire lifetime.
I mean, get those people and put them in any experience you would enjoy, and it just instantly becomes bad. Like it's different to go to these places like after hours in a hot outfit, make out with it, like, but if you go during the day just surrounded by these people, like you can bring me my number one celebrity crush, and if those people are next, I'm just gonna be like, I'd rather go masturbate. Like, I don't want them to be part of anything I do.
I do anything else. I went to France last year. I've been to France a couple of times, and I took my mum. She came up. She's never been to Paris, and I was like excited to show her because I love Paris.
She's been to Paris a couple of times.
Pew pew. But like she loves history, so she went to see Marie Antoinette's. What is it called? Castle building, whatever. And I was like, all right, let's do the half-day tour, because I can't do the full day tour. And like it's a big castle, right? And the first hour is pretty impressive. You're like going through this castle and you're like, wow, and you're listening to every single one of the audiobooks things. And then after the first hour, you're like, okay, I get it. And it just gets busier and busier, and you're like, it's a building. And we're here, and we have to wait for the bus to pick us up, and I'm like, I can't do this. I hate it. And you go to the gift store, and I'm like, what, why? Like, can't
you want to sell me more shit? Like,
just let me eat a croissant in a park. Like, I don't want to do that.
I know. I think that's why tourism is horrible in our generation. Is kind of like a little bit, because also. We didn't grow up with any sort of like wonder in the world anyway, and we had the internet pretty quickly, which kind of, you know, it's like if you see like 1,000 pictures of anything, you're not as excited to go and see it anymore if you see So I think it's because our parents' generation or a bunch of those people travel with like, okay, we'll buy the package. We'll go with a bunch of people in the bus. We'll put the audio. Like, I enjoy doing touristy stuff, but that's because I put fucking, like, aggressive hip-hop, just listening to aggressive hip-hop while looking at it, making my own assumptions, no knowledge whatsoever, no education after it. I leave the worst human being than I was when I went there. But at least I get to enjoy it. I get to look at all the shit and just be like, look, that's probably a pedophile did that. And then I live my whole life thinking a pedophile did that.
Yeah.
It's easy.
I fucking hate it when I'm on like a tour bus. I haven't been on one in a while. And they tell me about things while I'm on the bus. I'm like, excuse me, I'm having a moment listening to my music, looking out the window. Like, I don't care about, I don't care about the hill. You know, sure. So, you know, and I'm not going to remember it. I'm not one of those people who remembers facts.
Yeah.
Like, good for you, buddy. You found your career as a tour driver, and you like facts and you like telling people, but I just don't. Like, am I wrong?
I remember the shit that I intentionally ask for. If you just start telling me every single thing about something, I will remember nothing. But if my only question is like, hey, when the fuck was that built? then if you tell me like the 1400s, I'm gonna be like, holy shit, and then I'll
Yeah,
remember it.
totally.
Like, have you been to that building? It was built in the 1400s. Because I was actually curious to find out. I don't want to fucking like, you know, when you go to a Wikipedia page and you're just looking for like, okay, how much did it make in the box office? But they give you like, so in 1994, the story of how the pre-production started. It's like, I just want that thing.
Yeah, the first box was created.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is very true. I don't want to do any touristy stuff in Greece. I'll go see that old building.
Yeah, listen, but also again, like if you do it on your own terms, it's fun. Like go to a temple.
Your own terms.
Yeah, just take mushrooms.
Oi.
Just take mushrooms and go to a place where people were tripping their balls off 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
And actually enjoy the experience instead of being like, yeah, because it's, I don't know. I really enjoyed my day like going to the Tate Modern and being in the touristy area of London, which I did just like for one day. Because it's not when like you see everyone having to do certain things. Like that's my favorite thing is walking through groups that have like instructions on how to pass their day, and you're just kind of like tripping. You're a little bit high. You just ate some fucking nice thing from the market. You're having a cigarette. You go in and like when you do it exactly on your own terms, it can be really fun.
Well, have you ever had your own like touristy day in Berlin?
No, never.
Yeah, it's so
No.
funny when you like move to a country. I was like, when I move here, I will do that. And then I got a job straight away. And now it's like where I live. And you know when you have friends visit and they're like, oh, we're doing this. I'm like, never done that. I think I've taken every friend to the cathedral.
Yeah.
Because I can see it from the outside and I go, there's a pretty building. Let's get a drink.
Who's a really pretty building?
Who's a pretty building? Berliner Dom. But yeah, I haven't done anything else. I don't know if I want to.
Yeah.
It's also a pretty depressing city in terms of like, you know what, like the things to do in Berlin is like look at a wall and go to the Holocaust Museum.
Yeah.
Like that's what you can do.
That's the other thing. Is like you go to the place and you're like, do you want to see all the paintings that all the guys did while they were fingering the princess and fucking like eating whole fucking legs of ham, and then like the king died, and like it's fucking fascinating history, and it's all about sort of like enjoyment and fingering. It's I think the two things I remember from history.
Yeah, that's all history was.
Really?
And it's all it will ever be.
All it'll ever be.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, and then you're like, oh, do you want to do the touristy stuff in Berlin? Do you want to hear every angle on how they obliterated the people?
Yeah.
And how they burned, and this is the memorial, and here's 25 pictures of them being really guilty now, and being like, sorry, we did that, but here's all the stuff we did, so you remember, and we never do it again.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not a fun day.
No, it's not. It's real depressing in that sense. Like even in like Australia, obviously there's not much history, but well, there's heaps of history in Indigenous culture, but obviously we don't celebrate that, so it's very different. But in terms of like touristy stuff, it's like nature, right? It's like, oh, go to the beach, hold a koala, do this, and here it's
That's
like,
what you did right, though. That's what you did right as a nation, where you're like, everyone that talks about going to places and doing the touristy stuff, like, you know, you go to France, so we went to the like Eiffel Tower, we went to the Louvre, we went to this, then we go to Germany, we went to all the Holocaust things, we went to and then every time people talk about Australia, it's like, yeah, we went there, we hugged a koala. A kangaroo fingered me. It was really good. It's like you've just made it all about. Look at these cute animals. And please don't remember that we obliterated the indigenous people. And that were actually prisoners and rapists that were sent here on a boat.
Yeah. And we're all is intergenerational. What's it called? Stolen generations and blah blah blah.
No.
But there's so much water.
So much fucking water.
Go for a swim.
Fucking surf. Look at another koala.
Wow.
Talk about the fact that they have chlamydia and come back.
Oh man, great fact. Everyone remembers that one.
Everyone loves that fact.
It's such a good fact.
It is.
Koalas are so
Koalas are so
dumb. Like, do you know their brains are smooth?
you can sort of tell.
You can tell, dude.
Sort of tell.
Like, do you know when like every time there's like Australian bushfire, it, like reaches the news, like this many koalas died. I'm like, dude, obviously, like they don't know what's going on.
Yeah, if a fucking gust of wind is too strong, they're fucked.
How are they still here? Like they don't. I think a teddy bear, like a stuffed toy, would be better like than a koala.
That's my favorite thing about Australia is like sloths and koalas thriving there, and literally they're designed to die.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. there thousands of years ago. Like, the fact that they're still here. Like, I think they wake up every day and they're like, again?
Yeah, literally, it's like fucking, I mean, they're in the food chain in fucking...
They're not even in the chain, dude. They're like fucking out here, like trying to get to it.
They're like, the chain is here, and then there's a buffet to the right that's only koalas and sloths on a plate, like with an apple in their mouth, and somehow they stay alive.
Yeah. With chlamydia.
Yeah, it's literally like the food chain equivalent of like a plate of chicken wings in an American like buffet. Like, there's no way it's surviving.
Yeah.
And then yet somehow, I don't know.
It shows you if you're cute that you can really survive.
Yeah. That's how they did it. It's like the humans are just can't stand anything cute dying, so they kill everything that hunts it.
It's so true. God, we're such shallow.
Yeah. But my point is, before we were here, what were the fuck, like... I mean, humans are afraid of Australia because of the things that can kill you there.
Right.
How are these motherfuckers surviving?
Oh my God, I don't know. Didn't they used to be like, well, before the settlers came, all of the animals in Australia were like meters tall, like wombats and kangaroos were like 2 to 3 meters tall.
Yeah.
And then like that through evolution gotten smaller because we killed them all.
Everything evolves to be less visible by humans.
Yes, exactly.
Lions will be like this in 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Just fucking like roaches of the desert.
Roaches of the desert. That's such a sick name, man. I love it. Yeah, I don't know.
That's my new band.
Maybe. You're
Roaches
not in a band. What would you play? Do you play music?
I used to play the drums, girl. I was in bands. I was a fucking rascal, girl.
You're a rascal?
Yeah, dude.
I've always wanted to play the drums.
Yeah, you have that vibe.
Okay, well, that's enough for me to...
Yeah. No, you have bassist or drummer vibes.
Yeah, I think I don't like the strings. I don't like string instruments.
I don't like the strings.
I like the pachu.
Yeah, the pachu. Pachu is fun. I've grown. Don't bang on the table just because it's gonna be.
Sorry.
Because these are not. I don't know if you can tell from this 15-euro metal contraption, but they tend to resonate quite a bit.
Sorry, just the drum from one drummer to another.
From one drummer to another, very irresistible. I've grown to really fall in love with strings again because I think in the. It started with G strings. No.
If we had drums.
If we had drums, I'll add that in post. But I found strings for quite a while, like just so predictable in mainstream music that like I just it's the same sound, so I got bored. But then when you get into like really experimental shit, then strings become your favorite kind of sound because they're like resonant. And anything that has resonance in more like experimental types of sound and going deeper into like weird stuff, like vibrations and resonances are probably the most interesting thing to work with and listen to. So I had as a teenager, I hated like guitars and guitarists, and I just found it very like annoying.
Yeah.
But now that I kind of see strings are just fucking like vibrating little things that I can play with, you know?
You know? Music, huh?
Yes, I'm kind of back on strings.
You're back on strings. Yeah. What strings specifically?
I bought a zither. Do you know what a zither is?
No, what is that?
I'll pop it out in a bit.
Oh, hey.
Yeah, it's under. It's like in the storage cabinet of my
nice
couch. But I'll pull it out and we'll play with it.
Yeah. Fuck yeah! Give me this vibrating string.
Yeah, fucking traditionally in this podcast, I pull it out and we play with it a little bit, and that's how we wrap it up. I didn't tell you. Sorry, it's.
I didn't need to. I didn't know what this invitation was.
Yeah. You can assume. Yeah. As I said in the previous episode, I finally have the room of a guy that fingers you in your sleep.
Oh my God.
Like aesthetically, this is like a fucking. You wake up here and you feel a little bit. What happened last night? There's a bunch I can't remember.
Yeah, and there's a camera.
There's a camera set up at all times.
Yeah.
This slide I always keep there, and it's just facing the wall, and everyone thinks I'm just directing porn all day.
Oh man.
Yeah.
What is it? Like, I remember one time I was like seeing this guy in Australia, obviously, and he had a mullet before the mullet was back.
Fuck yeah.
So that was big.
I mean, Australians had the mullet throughout
of course.
history, back or not. Like they really championed the mullet.
They went to him, but this was during a time where it was like I remember he left my house one morning and my housemate was like, did he have a mullet? And I was like, yes, Lisa. Yes, he had a mullet. So that was him, and he was into like sound stuff. He was the strangest guy. It was just for us. I always want to do a stand-up bit about him, actually. But like, that was when I first started. But he like, because he would just, there was some a bit like, not, I found him hilarious. to laugh at. Do you know those people?
Yeah.
They're characters. They don't realize they're fucking insane.
Yeah.
Like, loved every second. Stayed at his house once. We fell asleep. He's like, I'm just going to put some music on because I have to sleep to music. And I'm like, okay, because I'm a real, like, sensory tank kind of person.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like a real, like, no, hear nothing, see nothing. Like, just please, just knock
Say
me out.
nothing, just fucking...
Yeah, just black box, please, in order for me to sleep. And I'm like, okay.
Witness protection program sleep. And you're like, all in.
Yeah, so I need the same to come as well, actually. I need to be, like, completely focused, like, no, just, like, do not distract me if you move. Anyway, different story. But anyway, so we're like, falling asleep. Like, I'm just going to put some,
I kind of was that Miranda on Sex and the City a little bit at some point, because I remember the scene of like very vividly, like cinematically, the scene of a woman trying to come so hard and like shutting the guy out and just being in this kind of like absolute peak of like don't move, don't do it, like, and then the guy just being like this, like just a stick to be fucked on, like
essentially yes, that is me. But yeah, he's like, I'm just gonna play some music. I'm like, okay. Something peaceful. Puts on like hard rock. Falls asleep.
Fucking psychos.
And I'm like, psychos. I just left in the middle of the night because I couldn't
deal with it.
And I just sent him a text later and was like, sorry, my housemate needed me. At 2 in the morning.
2 in the morning, fucking emergency, you know what it is.
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, that was like when I was like 20. Now I would just be like, hey dude, what?
What the fuck, dude?
What do you mean? Put earplugs? What do they call them? Headphones.
Headphones.
What do they call them? My language. Like, what?
I love it. I love that I mostly have native speakers on this podcast, and every time it's so funny when they're like, how do you say the word that is the thing that, like, I'm like, you rock, girl.
Yeah.
You guys are killing it.
So hard to barely communicate in one language.
Fucking,
Oh, man.
Yeah, it's wild. I'm a sort of like, I'm very not particular. I'm a fucking white trash sort of being that just I can sleep with the sun in my face while it's warm, while it's like I don't have any requirements. Like I'm very easy. Like you can just let me anywhere and I'll sleep. Or I'm not very particular with like sex or orgasm either. It's like I'll come. You don't have to worry. Like it'll happen.
Yeah.
But it's more about like I'm particular about timing and a little bit of like certain things, like even though I can be in anything, it's like still I'm not a fucking savage. Like if I put like I like sometimes like a little bit of sound to go to sleep. I don't need but if I play something, it will be like ambient or organ stuff, so it's like very, very smooth and nice frequencies that kind of like also are very like conducive to like sleep and relaxation. And when I wake up, I still like I won't play fucking metal. Like I'll play like some jazzy stuff or some classic. Like I think it's like I don't know how to describe it. Like I'm just kind of like a certain like quality. Like I like things to come. I'm sort of like I like to curate them in a way that feels like that's just about right.
I can picture that for you totally. Yeah. It's specific. But like I actually, now that you say that and I'm thinking about it, like that guy must have had some trauma. Like he must have had to sleep as a child, either listening to really intense music to block out whatever was going on, or he's used to falling asleep with like so much fucking noise. Do you know what I mean? Like that's like some real like wow.
It is weird. I also have a friend that like wakes up and plays insane noisy stuff, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot of like, because I wake up and I'm just like, just the slowest, beautiful flaps of the wings until I can finally have my 2 coffees and be human. And I know people that like wake up like this and like,
oh my God.
And it just makes me fucking traumatized instantly. Like, oh no, please, no, please. Yeah, it's kind of, I hadn't connected the two. Yeah, it's probably just intense childhood trauma.
Yeah, falling asleep like that's something.
Yeah. Yeah, you want like a nice little like cuddle or like some like a.
Well, that makes more sense, right?
Yeah.
That's like maybe your mom just like played that when you were like growing up and like really wanted you to sleep, and that's like super wholesome. But like playing like really intense rock music is like, oh, like wow, you were masking like something loud that was going on. Like that's insane. You can't do with silence. I don't know. Tom, if you're out there,
Tom,
I've tried to find him on things since.
He's fucking disappeared.
Yeah, he disappeared. He disappeared, dude.
Damn. I knew a guy, an Australian guy with a mullet that was also this kind of like character.
Yeah,
Like
I think they all are.
I think, but I think it's like I think Australians have that more than any other nationality of people I've met, where they love, like, they can build an entire character around irony.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And just kind of have this, like, I don't know, they seem like sketch show characters that are so into the character. They acknowledge that it's kind of like a joke and a little performance, but they're just that, like, I don't know, the 2 islands that I worked that were fucking filled with Australian men.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Eos in particular, it's an island sort of in the middle there of that complex of all the famous islands, and the Aussies found it like in the 80s, and it used to be like a fucking, like, all the Athens real hard rock, like, creatures of the night, you know, those
Right.
kind of like pale, wearing black and not unlike you a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, the never see the sun because I'm in a basement blasting Tool.
Yeah.
Those kind of people made that island kind of like their kind of, like, you know, summer home. So it had this, like, very intense alternative rock, hard rock identity.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Aussies found it traveling like through the Greek islands. And so apparently, like, a quarter of the businesses there are Aussie owned. So because Greece and like summer in Greece is like summer in Europe is, like, you know, June, July, August.
Right.
And in Australia, that's kind of winter. So then all these savages have now a second island to go to during those months.
Okay.
And then they have businesses there, they work there. So I worked there a couple of times during the summer. And, you know, it's like half of the island is fucking Aussies that either work there or visiting their friends that work there. And I kind of just spent the whole summer with fucking Aussies in the summer on an island. Amazing.
In my way.
And because then at that time, like, it was 2016, 17, we just Facebook friend everyone.
Yeah.
Then,
oh my God, yeah.
Then, like, for the next 4 years that I was on Facebook remotely, I would just, like, see, like, oh, like, fucking Thomas, whatever, uploaded another video. And then it's, like, a 17-minute video of him, like, putting on an extra Aussie accent, smoking cigarettes, playing a meth head, chugging beers, and then pranking people in a fucking bar in Australia. And I'm like, the fact that I have access to this content makes me so happy. Just...
yeah. There is that. I think there's, like, definitely, like, they don't grow up.
Yeah.
A lot of Australian men never grow up.
There was that vibe because a lot of them were barking outside the clubs and the bars, which was a very Australian thing. Like, it didn't even feel like they were doing it, like, for the island or because of Greece. Like, it felt like so, like, no one barks like that.
Right.
Like, they would just fucking, half of them would just grab girls, lift them in the air, start doing, like, the Saturday Night Fever fucking thing, and convincing girls to jump on them, and they would lift them, and it was fucking, like, it's a massacre. I was like,
Chaos, dude.
how do you have the confidence? Like, I would just be like, hey, do you want a drink? Hi, we have alcohol. Do you want? Hey.
Oh,
it's like, I can't, like, and those guys were like, hey, what's your name? And I was like, Jesus.
Oh, culture. This is really
Yeah, I'm like,
man, what? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just a tiny boy with no confidence, and these guys are lifting the girls high up. How are they doing it?
Yeah. How many pull-ups a day are they doing? I can't do your accent. Is that it?
That's close enough. No, don't take a picture.
I'm looking so weird.
Yeah, the video has a 30-minute time limit, so then sometimes I'll just forget and let the camera not running, and then we just have just audio for 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a lazy eye podcast, right?
It's just a lazy podcast.
Yeah, it's just a lazy podcast all around. Lazy eye, lazy production, lazy all.
Lazy. I love that. It's definitely podcast.
It's definitely podcast.
Yeah.
Shannon, I'm happy to have you here. I think Shannon has become the roast queen of Berlin somehow.
Somehow. Yeah, it's good.
No, because I didn't have you to be that good at roasting. Because like a lot of the people I know that would do really well at roast, their comedy was also kind of like fucking dark and vicious, and they were like kind of vicious characters, and then you were just like a delight. And also on stage, you love your little like puns, and you're playful, and it's very
silly.
It's very silly and
Yeah.
flowery, and I'm like, ah. And then Did we roast each other?
So the first time I ever roasted was
you
with
ever
you.
roasted anyone was me.
Yeah. Well,
Fucking-
it wasn't just you.
Yeah.
It was you had to roast like everyone. It was 4 of us.
Right,
and
it was
then
it was the shady
like Queen of
read
Berlin.
thing.
It was meant to be RuPaul's Drag Race made comedy.
And I think we won, so we went to the final.
Yeah, and then you have like 10 minutes or whatever to write roasts about each other.
Yeah.
And then I won from there. And I was terrified before that roast. Like, I remember talking to 𝕤𝕠𝕨 and I was like, Dane, like, I have to do this, like, roast. And I hate it because I hate offending people. And I'm, like, way too nice for this. And I'm way too sensitive. And I can't
That's
do
what
this.
I thought.
Yeah.
And look at this bitch coming out of the fucking woodworks. She's
Turns out I'm good at roasting.
So
It's
fucking good.
funny. It's hilarious to me. Yeah. That's where I guess that's where it all goes.
Yeah.
You know?
I think so, yeah.
Maybe this is how it works.
I think it is. I'm really enjoying your because
𝕤𝕠𝕨 is also a really good roaster.
Yeah.
And his comedy is very silly.
also very silly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's because also like I think people that have a lot more that feel more connected to the genre and to that style, I think put a bit more pressure on themselves to also write like tougher jokes and go and do all these
Right.
things, and then it doesn't live up to the ease with which you can come, and even with like a simpler joke, but that's like a little bit more off kilter and no one can expected it, and you kind of just do it a little bit more like with
It is still silly. Like,
is still silly.
Like the one I did with Maya, like 2 out of 4
mean,
of those were just like
yeah, the sock
silly.
puppet one though
Yeah.
was one of the best roast jokes ever, because it was like, first of all, it was accurate, which sometimes with jokes that have such a goal to get to the end, where they're like so like layered and everything serves the next thing, which leads to the absolute like last punchline. Sometimes you have to like, you think of that joke and it doesn't translate that well into the person, or it doesn't have that much to hold on to, but the jokes, it's so good by itself. But that one was like accurate as fuck. The first one hit, the second one was fucking amazing, and then the tying it all together, which is no one's ever come. No, and the like when you say
Men would
the
come
difference
inside
is
socks.
men would
Yeah.
come inside a sock. That's fucking
Thank you.
so good.
My favorite from that roast. I mean, that was just a fucking great roast. I love
Such a good
roasting
roast.
Maya, because we are similar. Everything I wrote about her, like apart from about her jaw, but even I don't have much of a chin.
Yeah.
Like, but she, hers is just a little bit less defined, so I could go for
Yeah.
it. But everything else was like, I can't. You could be right back at me, and so
Yeah.
that's really fun. When I read the Jaws one, I was really happy with that. It's just like she doesn't like the movie Jaws because she finds it unrelatable.
I know, it's fucking great.
But that's silly.
Yeah.
And like I have a bit about her fucking a dog. Like it's not, you know what I mean? And you're actually right. I think the people who are real dark comedians, when they write roasts, they go so dark, and dark without any like connection to a person, audience members can process because it's hypothetical. If you go dark and you're talking about someone who's on stage, audience members are so empathetic, particularly in Berlin, I find.
Yeah, also Berlin is a different, that's the other thing of like, also the way you do it, outside of it just fucking working perfectly, it also is the best and easiest for a Berlin crowd to like be with you, because also like you gotta, I don't know, like they don't know roast culture, they don't know like stand-up comedy that well, so sometimes like they don't commit to go with you to places you'd go.
Yeah.
And then it's like it creates like a thing. Whereas yours are like are never too harsh for anyone to back down of, but they're so perfect that like everyone comes with. Like it's a real so much fun. So much fun.
The interesting thing I found about the roast is that like me and you, maybe you find this as well, what you get roasted on. Like it's so interesting how you're perceived like by people, and like I think. Yeah, I mean, obviously, by most people, if you're a woman, it'll be slut.
Yeah.
Dumb slut is what I get all the time.
I never even thought of going that lane.
Yeah. Or like dumb, trashy slut is like generally.
Cool, wait, let me write this down.
Yeah, write that down.
So dumb, trashy, slut. Okay.
Yeah, and big forehead. I didn't realize I had a big forehead.
Yeah.
Every single roast I've ever had has been about my forehead, and it is the one that sticks with me. Where I go and take a photo now, and I'm like, well, my forehead looks quite big in that photo. Yeah, I literally.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know. Like, I didn't know.
It's fucking, I don't know. It doesn't seem that big.
No, I guess I'm just so unroastable that's all there is.
That's all there is.
That
just
must
the forehead.
be it. Yes, that's it. Man, so funny. It was so funny the last time because you were on that roast as well, and you'd just come off like fucking 48-hour bender or something. Like you'd been doing coke for the last so many hours. How were you? What were you feeling then?
That was fucking wild. I mean, it was pretty. It was 48 hours. I slept the only sleep I got, I just at some point, it was like 2 p.m. And I was like, if I don't sleep at all and then go directly to the roast and still be so, like, it's not gonna. So I forced myself to sleep for like 2-3 hours. Ugh. So I did that to at least kind of like get the edge off. Like it really does. Like when you sleep, like it makes you more tired than you were.
Yes.
But at least it takes the edge off and it kind of restarts your brain enough to be like, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
With like, I'll just go there, get drunk, get a little bit in the spirit. And
yeah.
It was
survive the roast.
It was fun. I mean, it's one of those where like, I was really, really happy with the jokes I'd written, but it's also like, how fucking snappy are you and how present in it? And I did feel like my jokes were like didn't work as well as they could have, because I really enjoyed like writing those, and I felt like a couple of them were like bangers. It just didn't really translate to the room that well. You
did have some bangers. I can't remember specifically now. Didn't you have something about the Twin Towers for?
Yeah, dating. Yeah, I talked about her dating life, and then I was like dating, because I did the joke about her being in downtown New York when 9/11 happened, and I don't remember what I did about that. But then I did about like her dating life, and then I said dating Sophia is like being in the second tower. You wishfully might think that you're gonna be okay, but then because something about it. Yeah, I did a bunch of 9/11 stuff. I mean, my favorite. I had a few lines that I really loved, but it's a little bit too dark for, because it's also they don't know Sophia and how much she only talks about rape and pedophilia on stage, and how like vicious she is. So yeah, I mean, my favorite one was when I was talking about her being in a cult, and it was like, I read that wrong. Sophia's a cunt.
Yeah, good. Say silly. Easy, nice.
That worked the best, and it was
non-personal,
and that was my throwaway. Because then the cult thing was like something. It was you're like Gwyneth Paltrow if she slept with Harvey Weinstein and still didn't get the part.
Yeah, dude. I feel like the one you had with Bruno was really good as well.
Bruno, that roast I got annihilated because he didn't let me do any of my jokes.
I also think whatever was happening with that crowd, they were like, you weren't getting that one. I'd say you weren't getting what you deserve.
Yeah, I wasn't getting a lot of love, but it was also it was the only time I've been on a roast where I felt horrible on stage. Like I didn't feel like I just, because normally I'm just kind of like quite comfortable on stage, even if it's not going that well. Like I'm comfortable at least in my presence there and in my speech and in my brain being snappy or whatever. That one, I didn't feel confident on stage. I was just kind of a little bit like down. And then Bruno interrupting me mid every joke, so he didn't let me finish any of the 4. He would just like, whenever I would make like the setup of the first road joke, he would do a rebuttal. And I was like, that's not how a rebuttal works.
Yeah, it's not fair.
But I wasn't confident enough to like fucking just like put my foot down and go insane on him. So I felt very like I hated that fucking battle.
Rebuttal is so much as well. Like I think I would drink, at least have a drink before most of the roasts I did, and then on the one with Near, I decided not to.
Yeah.
Oh my! I had rebuttal for every single one.
Really?
Because I didn't drink, I was nervous, which is why I would usually have a drink.
Yeah.
But the nerves kept me alert, and being sober kept me alert, and then so I could rebuttal. I did the exact same thing with Maya, and we had great rebuttals.
Fuck yeah.
So now I'm like, when I host shows, because you have to have way more stuff. Whenever I have to do improv now, I'll do it sober. Not that I drink at every gig. I don't. I usually would only drink if it's okay. If you're gonna. Like, I'm pretty professional, but if you're booking me for a late night, Saturday night show, like, don't expect me to be fucking, like, sober, you know?
I drink too for the same reason you don't. I drink because when I'm even psychologically, but like even if I have like one beer, my improv game is 10 times stronger.
Right.
Like my best sets that I've had that were like, how did that even happen? I didn't do any material for 15 minutes. This was insanity, and a bunch of things happened. I'm drunk in all of them.
Really?
Yeah, I'm 10 times funnier when I'm drunk.
It's such, like, alcohol and comedy is such an interesting thing. Like, I think, as well as like a lot of your payment is in alcohol, right? Especially in like open mic scene and stuff.
Yeah, all
it
of it.
feels like if I don't take the free drink, then I'm not taking my payment for the night.
Literally, yeah.
But also that as well, and I totally have nights where I'm way better because there's a sweet spot, I think. If I have a couple and I'm already in a good mood, do you know what I mean? Like if I'm tired, then alcohol is going to make me more tired and I'm not going to be focused. But you know when you have the perfect amount, it's like 2 drinks, and I'm fucking on it. I am fucking, my game is just like bam, 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 bam.
Dude, like 2 to 3 drinks in, stand-up just can be like, can fucking be magic.
Yeah, because
like,
you just have no fear.
you'll also see after the second one, this podcast will be so much better.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just the nature of the game.
Yeah, there is definitely like when I have more than that is like when I'm drunk, and I almost never do gigs drunk again unless it's a late night Saturday and I've had pre-plans like, what did you expect from me and you're not paying me and blah, blah, blah. If that is the case and I'm drunk, I always feel like I did really well, and then I'm like, why didn't the crowd like me? I did the exact same thing as usual. And then like, obviously I'm not. It's like how you think you're better at karaoke or like singing when you're fucking drunk, you know? It's like you're not.
You're not.
You're not.
You're just more accepting of yourself.
Yeah. I'm probably way more unlikable. Like, I laugh a lot more at my own jokes when I'm drunk.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I'm so funny.
You guys hear that?
Wow. It's fucking great. This is great.
And mess up words, yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I haven't, I need to do a few shows kind of dead sober again and see what the difference is. But yeah, I don't know. Traditionally, I mean, I never do shows very like fucked, not crazy amounts of alcohol. I also don't smoke weed. So it's also like, it's not like I needed to do stand-up. Like I've done a lot of shows. But traditionally, like one beer I like because it's like, it does nothing other than calm you down a little bit.
Almost,
yeah, it gives you a little bit of that kind of like smoother, like get a bit tipsy. You're a little bit less afraid. Not that we're dealing with a lot of like, it's not like stage fright, but it's a little bit of like, you know, you're nervous about every kind of new level you get. You want to kind of live up to it. And also when you start doing shows that matter a bit more than just going from shitty open mic to shitty open mic, you're like, you get a little bit more nervous about like, I have to fucking be on point. Like I want to do all these things right. I want to fuck around a bit. Also, it's like my best sets, like, if you take my 30 best sets I've ever done, they're all half based on some improvised thing.
That is definitely your style, which I think is so interesting.
Because, and that's the thing, is also like this year I've only been doing material because last year it got a little bit out of hand with being just a fucking, just unpredictable
scene of improv. Like,
fucking asshole that goes somewhere. But now I see it like my best sets of this year, which I've only kind of committed to just doing material and writing. Like, I'll have a fucking half a moment and it fucking changes the whole set. And it's like, fuck, man. Yeah. And when you're also based on that, it's kind of like, there's a little bit of that extra, like, okay, fuck it, I need to be like comfy, good, smooth, just have a couple of beers in me. And then shit goes way more interesting.
Totally.
Then, yeah.
I think I like the trap I fall into if I've had too many drinks before a gig, and like you never know how many too many could be. Maybe if I'm in a really really good mood, one could be too many.
I don't think I've ever had too many.
I like it's never happened. I just like is when like I would just get deep into crowd work.
Yeah.
Like that's how I know that I've been drinking. Like like I remember I did a gig recently and I didn't mean to. I just didn't mean to. I just had a bunch of drinks before the gig. Right? I was meant to have one and just had like 4 in 40 minutes before the gig and rocked up and was like and then got on stage. Remember, I talked to Jonas the next day. He said like the next day, he was like, yeah, you got to the gig and you were like, okay, I just need you to do this gig. The only thing that happens when I'm drunk is that I talk to people, so I need to not do that. And I know I get on stage, and because there's questions I do, right? Is like, I got a new bit about horses. I'm like, anyone here have a horse? And I'm not meant to respond. They're meant to say, no one has a horse. And I just go, yeah, this should be a super relatable material. That's it. It's a question. And what happens, someone's like, no. And I'm like, why don't you have a horse? That's what happens when I'm drunk. why don't you have a horse? And then I start a conversation. It's happened.
Why don't you have a horse? First of all, probably one of the nicest ways to get into fucking crowd work. Why don't you have a horse, you fucking loser?
Yeah.
What the fuck? What?
What is...
I didn't know it was going to be the show where no one has a horse.
Do you want a horse?
Do you want to...
Yeah, man. And there's some years where I'll get up and I find someone who's like also... Recently I found someone who was also from Brisbane. And I think I had an entire conversation with them on stage where like it was funny to us, you know? Because it's Brisbane things. And then I get the light. And I'm like, oh my God, I've been talking for fucking 6 minutes. Yeah, that's why I can't be drunk when I do comedy.
No, that's fair. If it gets you into that sort of trouble,
yeah.
I tend to just become way more aggressive with them, and I'm just like such a cunt. Like I don't do any sort of like relatability leaves my body.
Yeah.
After the second drink, I'm like, I have the microphone and you're a bunch of losers. Now suck my dick, and like I just become that. But that's funnier on my side. Like when I'm in that character mode. Just it tends to make crowd work easier because sometimes you don't even have to be like that funny and I once like did an entire crowd work set where whatever people answered I was like cool, and then they would fucking kill. I was just kind of like being demeaning to the whole, just like cool, okay, so do you enjoy that? And they'd be like and it was like silence, and like do you enjoy that? And they're like yeah, all right, and then just be condescending for like half an hour.
It gives you confidence to try shit.
It does, yeah. And also in the beginning, it was like not being like a native English speaker. There's like an added sort of like when a lot of your best shit comes from being spontaneous, and you're being spontaneous in a language that you're not as comfortable yet. Yeah. It's like a couple of beers would really, really help.
Totally.
Like in the beginning, even though my English was always quite good, I would like freeze a little bit more. Like even one added second or half a second to find a word in stand-up, it's like an eternity.
Yes, that's such a good point.
Yeah, everything needs to be so accessible, and alcohol apparently makes it way more accessible to me than actually block it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna make another cocktail.
Woo!
Yeah, it's just there's so many people that I feel are like on the sober train now. Just it's nice. I just kind of like, you know, I'm a fucking old school bar kind of hoe, and I like a little bit of that spirit around. But just now I assume that everyone that does stand up is like a sober corporate bitch.
Right.
Like it shifted from like the fucking just trashy losers doing stand-up, like the alcoholics and all the misfits, and now it's just like clean, nice people with a good day job. Like it's such a fucking...
Oh, that's so true.
But it's funny to me because I always had that in my head of like also going into stand-up of like, you know, I'm a fucking trashy individual, and kind of like if there was just like a culture around that, and then I go there and it's all like people that do like financing and project management and advertising and software development, and they all have nice little like simple clothes, and they go to the office in the morning, and at night they do jokes. And
then they go home.
Fucking gay pussies. Like what the fuck? What the fuck? Live a little. Like it's stand up, and we should be the. But yeah, that's how it feels.
There is such a balance, isn't it? Like, I think sometimes I feel guilty for not doing enough gigs. I do, like, I would say, like, minimum 6 a week.
Yeah.
Like, but I'm like, I should be doing 15. But I'm like, oh my God, if every single night I was doing stand-up, would I have any life experience? No. Like, yeah, what would I joke about? And even just, like, having a night off, sleeping in, I wake up, I'm ready to think in joke, you know?
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, it's also like I take too many breaks from it, and I'm doing too many other things, and a lot of it also takes place at night at times. That it's like it kind of because doing other things can still work with stand-up, but it depends on like because everything I do kind of takes place around the same time, so it's like you have to sacrifice one or the other. But I'm also a very strong believer in like taking small breaks, doing it, and then at times doing it as many times as humanly possible. Like I also prefer to do like if I can get 3 to 4 nights a week of doing at least 2 shows a night, and even 3, like 2 out of them you do 3, 2 out of them you do 2, and then 3 not at all. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Because you can still have a nice dinner and go on a date.
Yeah.
You can still work a couple of night shifts or DJ or do whatever it is you do. And then on the nights you're doing it, it's not just doing like one spot and then back home or one. Because that feels sometimes, I don't know, like going into an orgy, getting a 2-minute hand job, and then having to go home. Like, it feels like it's just the only thing this did for me is just like get me warmed up and horny and understand that I want to do this, but now I have no place to do it.
That's so true. I think like when I was into, because I did a bit of stand up before I came into Berlin, but like not heaps because I was like doing a master's or whatever. And then when I came to Berlin, I was like, wow, I can't do my career because I don't speak fluent German. So I'm working in a cafe. I'm like, God, I have got.
What's your career?
It's social work. It's not.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. I'm like literally a nice person.
Yeah, you're literally like cool.
All the rumors.
Fuck, man, I really can't like. You know when it's the classic thing where comedians from the States talk about just only hanging out with comedians because everyone else is like, it's boring to talk to her.
Yeah.
But like in Europe, this doesn't translate because the cool people are the ones not doing stand-up.
Oh my God.
And it's like the people doing stand-up here, it's literally like talking to someone in your office.
Yeah.
And then the cool people are all like the fucking night workers, artists, like maybe there's like 4 cool people in stand-up in this city and it's Berlin.
Yeah.
The 2 other scenes I've been to that I've just kind of like talked a little bit and been around comics, I'm like, you guys are fucking unbearable. Like, because they really are. I mean, they're all just kind of like, it's like, no, it's fucking do something. Be funny. Do something trashy. Have a drink. Say something stupid. Do it. Like, how is this fun?
How did you get into this? Who told you should do this? Where were you? In a lunchroom?
Yeah. You should
at
meet
a
my fucking
work function? Like, who told you should do comedy?
Yeah, it's like you should meet my friends in Berlin. They're socially 10 times more funny than every comic I've fucking met here.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It's also this thing of like, I don't know. I'd love to. Yeah. Anyway, but you were saying. No.
I like, hey, that's not that interesting. And then when I came here, I was like, okay, focus on comedy so you have some sort of fulfillment in your life, you know? I don't want to fucking make coffee. Like, and and then when I started, I was like, okay, I feel like 1 gig a night is good because I like to watch part of the gig. I like to see other comics, see what's working and what's not working.
Yeah, for fucking 1 month.
For 1 month, and then you're like, my God.
If I have to say another show.
If I have to see this comic do the same set again, I'm going to kill myself. And like also, once I got into the hang of doing 2 to 3 shows a night, which is way more possible in Berlin than it is in like back home because you have to drive everywhere back home, then it's like, okay, that's way better because, like you said, I can get all my shows done in a short amount of time. I can have nights free and still do 10 gigs. And like you said, you're on a roll. Like, if you're trying new shit, having multiple a night is so good because you're in the zone. When I go from 1 gig to another, I'm in the zone. I'm thinking it through. What am I going to do? Whatever. Like, I don't understand when I meet comics who do, like, 1 gig, like, every 2 weeks. I'm like, what is the point?
That's not comics. That's, like, people that...
it's hobbyists.
Yeah, but it's the same with people that do like, you know, they have one pottery class every 2 weeks, and then there's people that's their job. That's what they do. They go and do pottery every day because they're making things. Like, it's you have that with and it's the same in like every art form. And there's people that enjoy doing it as a hobby or enjoy being in that place, and there's people that do it and then it becomes. You also have to deal with it with a different type of responsibility and a different type of commitment. And I mean, I've been quite on and off because of fucking all the other things I do. But still, like, if I'm doing it, it's like and at times that I'm not doing it that much, and I can only do like once or twice a week, and I really don't have time for any more. Then at least I'm trying to preserve my funny for when I can have the time to properly do it again. Kind of just like. Yeah, but it's... Yeah, dude, having like 3 shows a night where you can like... I used to put like little challenges where I'm like, okay, 3 shows, you have to not repeat a joke for any of them.
Ooh.
So it's like a challenge of like 3 shows, no same joke, all different material.
That's so interesting.
And then I had one where you have to do the same exact set on all 3, but make it better for each show. And then, like...
Try something different.
Yeah.
The tone, the timing, like... There's always so much you can play with. It's such an addictive thing, man. Like, that's why I do so much of it, is like, because you never get good at it. You will never get good at comedy.
It's a great thing about it.
Yeah, it's so addictive. You're always like, why does this work? Why doesn't, what makes it better? Why this crowd? What, like, it's so, and then you just want to get back out there again to work out what's going on.
Yeah, no, one show is like, it's really like edging. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, I've been doing a lot of more hosting lately. Like, I've got
That's
3
nice.
or 4 hosting gigs this week. Yeah, and it's like, funny in that, like, the way that I feel about hosting now is like how I felt when I started comedy. Like, I get nervous the day of. Like, I wake up, I'm like, have that gig tonight, and I'm like, oh my god, I haven't had that in ages. Like, you know, with comedy gigs now, it's like I don't really get nervous at all. Maybe like if there might be specific gigs, if there's specific people in the crowd or like whatever, then yeah, okay, 10 minutes before I'll start to get nervous. But I'm back to square one with hosting because it's a new thing for me where I'm like terrified. But that's kind of fun.
It is so much fun. And I mean, to put new, but that's the whole point of also like when you say like in the beginning where you like stay for the show. And, you know, I mean, my first year, I never got like 2 gigs on the same, or I was just kind of like doing it incredibly, like 1 gig a week. I was working 4 nights, 5 nights a week.
Yeah.
So like for the first year, I couldn't really do stand up.
Yeah.
So it's this thing about like, if you have one show and you're in the beginning of it, you stay.
Because it's all the stand up you get that week.
It's so wild to see though, because it's like, not only do you hear the same joke from everyone, I mean, you know, I like 3 years ago, there's people still doing the exact same 5 minutes from 3 years ago. Like,
okay, we'll talk later.
like, that shit is fucking brutal.
That is insane, man.
And there's so much of that where it just kind of made me like, listen, I've never fucking claimed to be fucking either that good at it or that, like, but it's more about why are you doing it and what are you trying to get out of it. Because that's what baffled me always. It's like, there's no Johnny Carson Tonight Show fucking Alexanderplatz. Like, we're in Berlin. The era of developing a good 5-10 minute set is done about 15 years ago. Even in the States, that's useless now. Like, you have to be a funny character. You have to develop your funny and your spontaneity way more than you have to develop material in this way that they did in the fucking 60s, 70s, 80s.
You gotta put it online. Like, it's depressing, but it's true. Like,
So with all of that, it's like, what are you attempting to do by doing a thing that stops being fulfilling after 3 months of repetition for open mics and for like, and also my thing is like, aren't you embarrassed that the comedians know? Like, because that's my number one thing is like, that when we're talking about getting nervous, I think stage fright for the audience leaves very early on. The only times I'm nervous is for the producers, hosts, and comedians. And I mean, if a comedian has heard me tell a joke before, it breaks my, like, even just like shows I do, I'm like, oh, this comedian knows half of the jokes I'm doing tonight. Like, that puts me in a fuck. Like, I always wanted to be like new. Like, I wanted you to not have heard it, even if you're a comedian in the back. And it fucking, that's the part that always frustrated me.
It's not even about new material either as well. And it's like, as like someone watching other comedians, like, I love seeing development of a joke. I can watch you do the same joke for 2 years, but if you're developing it,
if it gets
really fun to watch.
Stronger and weirder.
And I'm like, and then I get to see the process with you of what you've changed and why you changed it. And that is so fascinating to me. But a comedian who is doing the same thing every single time is just like, well, why are you doing it then? Unless it's your opener. Or your closer. I can understand that. Sure.
I mean, I understand also like having a joke that you'll do almost forever, but it's like, it sets the tone, it makes you comfortable.
You get the laughs, and then you go into whatever the fuck you want to talk about. Super interesting, man. I love talking shop. I feel like I've gotten so obsessed with comedy.
But I always had the opposite, where I only like to open with new stuff, never put it in the middle. I don't know, because I can't. If I open with like a proper thing of writing, that makes me more uncomfortable than like winging it the first 1 minute.
You are a special character, but I also do think there is something in like the way that you tell a joke that is new is so exciting. Like, oh my god! Every time I have a new bit, I'm like, oh guys, listen to this, you know?
Yeah, because
so exciting.
even if it bombs, I'm using my voice.
And also what that is like the more you do comedy, the better you're getting at it and the more it is in your voice. Like I feel like only now I'm starting to write jokes that are my voice.
Yeah.
And that I would find funny if I saw it. Like genuinely, and this is my 4th year doing comedy, I think, for like 2.5 years, going to 3 years. I did jokes that I knew audiences would laugh at. And it was based on what other comedians I saw were doing, which is definitely a thing in Berlin, because the people who get praised in Berlin are the people who are doing jokes that are easy to get. It's like, and go to a specific theme, right? So it's really hard to still get spots and then have your own voice. Like, it's tough. And
It's fucking... It's,
and if you're in Berlin, you don't have a lot of examples of different types of comedy, I think. Like, you don't, because it's not a major English-speaking, like...
Yeah,
it's not an English-speaking...
We're really
city.
suffering from not having alt comedians at all. And no, I'm a little bit... I mean, that's my only real grievance with the Berlin scene, is that, like, everyone's doing exact same format and everything is quite easily digestible and no one's really... like fucking risking up there. No one's fucking like... I love to see insanity on stage, and stand-up has a lot of that. Has so many characters and so much like dysfunction and tension. And in Berlin, you'd never really feel that so much.
I also think that like as a younger comic, I mean like under 6 years, like, you know, like because it is a long game.
Oh yeah, no, I'm in the same. I'm on my 4th year as well. We're in the same.
We're still babies, and maybe when I started, I would have heard 4 years and be like, whoa. But now I'm like, oh, I'm just big. You don't find your voice till 5-6 years. Yeah, like it's such a process. But like you really like in doing comedy in Brisbane, and Brisbane isn't even a major. Like, it's not Melbourne. Doing comedy in Melbourne, I'm sure, is like, this times 10. It's like, I would be on lineups in my first year of comedy with people who'd been doing comedy for 20 plus years, and they were fucking amazing. They're like people who get awards for comedy, and that does 2 things to you. 1, makes you want to be better all the time, because you do your set and a crowd doesn't like it, and if you're in Berlin, you blame the crowd because no one else gets them going. And then you see someone come out and get the crowd on their side, or do something ridiculous to get the crowd on their side, and you go, oh, it's not the crowd, it is me, and I'm going to work harder. The second thing it does is it makes you professional, because because you are going to show up on time. You aren't going to fucking try and swap your gigs. You are going to show up. You're going to watch all of the comedians, which might just be 3 or whatever. And you are gonna they say thank you, and you are gonna be so thankful to be on that lineup because you're on the same lineup as this person. And there is a lack of that in Berlin.
There's a lack of respect for the genre and the art form, because there's no like heads and grandfathers and grandmothers of comedy here. There's no real veterans. There's no fear in people, and that's why half of the shows are run by people that just started a year ago.
Oh my god!
And they can't even write a joke, but they're running half of the shows, and you're like, oh, in a different scene, a proper scene, you would have just been fucking bashed for your like lack of respect. And like there's I like a little bit of like this God-fearing aspect of like, you're allowed to fucking go on stage, do whatever the fuck you want. Here's someone that's been doing it for fucking 15, 20, 25 years that will put the fear in you. Here's someone turning an audience. Here's someone also seeing someone that's been doing it for 15 years bomb. That's also healthy. There's all these different aspects of like, there's a little bit of an arrogance here because
a lot of arrogance.
Because everyone thinks that because they're one of the funniest people in this scene that it's something, when the reality is like, but you're in a scene where like the only people that have been doing it over 10 years are producers that are basically like business managers. They're not even doing stand-up. Like they'll host a couple of things and they'll do one show, but it's not a scene that just has this tradition where it puts you in your place a little bit and makes you chase it in this, like...
Yeah.
Like, okay.
And even just, like, the fact that every producer here is the MC. There's no respect for MCs here.
No.
Like, there's no respect for hosting. Like, this is the only city I've been in where a producer will host.
Yeah.
Like, that. Like, it's pretty rare.
It's pretty rare, and here it's the only way it's done.
Yes.
It's that people just produce and host. There's a million different things every year, and then half of them disappear, and it's this thing of, which also, to me, harms the scene a lot, because audiences here if you need to trick a person into coming to your show, that's not great.
Yeah,
Like people shouldn't be tricked to come and tricked into paying and tricked into listening. Like it's not that. With all things, you either develop a culture around something and a rapport, or you're like people do stand up in this city, like people sell shitty drugs, like they try to convince you to pay and take it and then know that you're probably not coming back.
Yeah. Oh wow, it is so true. I think it's so like in every like major English speaking city that does comedy, which is all of them, I guess.
Yeah.
Like the host is the most important person, and they are paid the most.
Yeah.
They're paid more than a headliner, unless that headliner is like fucking someone famous or something, or doing more than 40 minutes.
Yeah.
The host is the most important person.
In non, like, I guess, like, okay, in a comedy club where you have your like opener, feature, and headliner, and big names will come through, a host is incredibly important, but takes a sort of like, okay, secondary position.
For sure, that's the thing.
But in 90% of the rest of the shows, which are these kind of more medium-sized crowds, a bunch of comedians coming in, a bunch of spots, blah, blah, the host is everything. And the MC, like, the job of the MC has always been, like, fucking... I mean, also, you see, like, who MC'd, like, historically, like, at the Cellar in New York, at the Comedy Store. Like, it's fucking, like... massive names that like that was their fucking job, and they were like all revered.
Yeah.
And here, that's what I loved going to Prague. There's this Scottish guy, Grant. I don't remember his last name. Shout out. He was fucking shout out, Grant.
Thanks, Grant.
Like as old school MC as they come, he hosts most shows in the scene in Prague. Like, there's a bunch of, obviously, like, young people doing blah, 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 but he's sort of, like, the senior MC where he gets hired to run a lot of the open mics, a lot of the bigger shows. He'll MC, like, people coming into town. He's the sort of, like, go-to. And, dude, he's awesome. He's funny as fuck, but he's so good with being an MC, timing things correctly, getting people on stage, making people thrive. And what he does is, if you're in the audience, he makes everyone comfortable in fucking 30 seconds.
So this is the thing, is like, it's its own fucking skill, and you're not meant to be the funniest person in the room. If you're the funniest person in the room and you're the MC, what a fucking terrible gig.
No, you're the one holding everyone's trust. You're making everyone comfortable. He was funny as fuck, but I did like 3 shows in 2 days in Prague, and I fucking really like destroyed.
Yeah.
And it was for 2 reasons. Like, there's not a lot of comics there, so the levels are like, it's like, you know, you go to a smaller scene, and all of a sudden you're like fucking, like, you go from just being a mediocre stand-up and you're seeing 3 years in, and then you go there and you're like, do you fucking head? Everyone's like, do you head? It's like, no, guys, you have no idea.
Do you do head?
Yeah. I fucking give blowjobs for spots, so you have no idea what it's like out there, but you guys keep on the good fight. But the other reason I did so well was that, like, I'm used to going up on stage while being yelled at to come on stage by someone that's hosting without a microphone and has just done...
You start cold.
Yeah, and you go up on stage after 5 minutes of the most unsuccessful crowd work about what's it like to be a software manager, and the audience hasn't laughed in 17 minutes.
Yeah.
The room feels cold in temperature, in essence, and vibe, and in everything, and then you go up there and you have to do everyone's job and try to be funny from scratch. So then having an actual MC for the first time be like that good at running a show and setting you up and having the audience be comfortable, it's a guaranteed kill. Like, you're gonna kill.
Yeah, it's so true. And it's hard. Like I said, it's like I'm starting hosting now. I did like a couple in Australia, but that was it. And then now I'm just like starting to do a lot, and it's learning a new skill again.
It's great.
And it's hard because you're like, oh, I didn't do that great, but I don't know how yet. But like, it just takes time in the same way that doing sets takes time. And
I think the hard part with it is how comfortable you are with not trying to be the funniest person in the room. Because that's where I struggle with hosting, where I've really enjoyed hosting, and I've only done it like 4 or 5 times. I've done really well 2-3 times. I've done quite the other ones. And it's all because I'm so geared to do sets, and I'm so geared to like to be like, even though I'm like quite good at like crowd work and improv stuff, which you could assume that I might do a good enough job hosting, but it's also like embracing the role of facilitating versus getting. And sometimes with stand-up, I'm not that good at it because I'm so geared to just go in, do my shit, and leave.
Yeah.
That being a bit calmer and accepting that there's no need to be funny here. Let me just do
like
this,
saying something that doesn't get a laugh and being like, yes, that is my job, is like, whoa, that's different to everything that I've ever been working on, you know?
That's the fear comes back because I'm just because there's certain things you just connect them to something, and I'm just so used to like only looking for the laugh. For any reason I'm ever on stage is looking for a laugh, that then the role of just being like the person kind of running the night and keeping it smooth and keeping it nice, like, not that I can't do it, but it's just like it's a whole thing. You have to train your brain to be like, not be greedy, not be desperate, because it's like my brain, if I don't get like a laugh twice in a row, then I start becoming desperate, and then I'll sabotage myself, sabotage the like, it's this kind of like insanity of needing laughter while you're on stage that then makes you do desperate things.
And it's hard to know, like, you're like, okay, well, if they're not laughing at everything that I'm doing, then are they warm enough to bring up a comedian? And they can be. Like, I've done shows where I'm like, okay, they like me, obviously, but they're not like rolling in it. But then I bring up comedians and they're real receptive. So it's like, okay, I did something right, but I can't work out what it is.
I think that's the other tricky, desperate part of hosting, is that you're kind of used to like needing a laugh to then be like, okay, I'm gonna bring your next comedian on.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you're not really putting yourself in a good position to get that, and then you're like, if I bring the next comedian now, are they gonna feel like I brought them cold, or is it gonna like? And you get like weird and desperate. You're like, I just need one laugh to bring the other, just one laugh, and then you just get.
And then you've been hosting for 40 minutes.
Yeah,
and
you're like, you've told your
yeah.
entire childhood story, and everyone's looking the other way. You're like,
It's hard. I've seen it with like hosts before, where it's like you can see they're not like killing it, and then so like they're just like they keep going, and then they all been on for too long, and it's just getting worse and worse, and they can't get out. But they're like, maybe just a bit more, and they go deeper and deeper, and
like,
then they just have to bring the comedian on, and it's like, oh, but then that can be amazing because the comedian just wanted that person off stage, and they were like, great, like the comedian, the audience wanted that person off stage, and they're like, okay, I'm ready to hear comedy, because they don't see the host as a comedian. Like, people don't know that's a comedian. I swear to fucking God. And when I have invited friends to gigs in the past, they're like, well, but you're hosting. You're not doing a bit. I'm like, man, I have more material. I have more time on stage than anyone else.
I used to do so much. Yeah, but it's...
But they see you on stage, they're like, oh, I wish you did a bit.
No, but you see that, like, people can neutralize you sometimes from... Because you see it also when, like, the audience is not responding to you that much, and you're like, fuck. And then you bring an even not that funny comedian up.
Yeah.
But the audience gets into this... Okay, host is off, comedian is coming, and now they start, like, they engage again, and they're like, oh, now I'm waiting for jokes, and it puts them in that thing. Well, when you're on stage, we also all do this kind of like, hey, while I'm on stage, it's all good, but just please give your attention to the comedian. Like, we also neutralize ourselves a bit.
Yeah, totally.
And then we say all these rules that then they don't really expect the jokes coming from us, or it's not that... Yeah, it depends. Sometimes you can...
valued.
Yeah.
It is true, though. Like, I don't know, the gig I did last night is, like, always the hardest thing is, like, a group in the back that, like, wouldn't stop talking. And you don't want to get mad at them because then that isolates them. And obviously they're here for a good time. And if I could get them to listen, then they're going to be great. You know what I mean?
You're like a patient girlfriend.
Yeah, I'm like
I don't want to tell
It's who they're going to be.
They're just like, they're so good. It's just like, I don't want to set them up for this. I just want to find a nice way to make them understand it. Such a sweet girl.
And it was like, so I was like, what else? So I did crowd work with them. I was like, hey, guys, you know. But then as soon as I would move on to someone else, they would start speaking. But so I was like, oh, fuck. So it just seemed like a really chaotic mood. And like, it's a small room, so like everyone kind of knew what was going on. I was like, I don't know how to control this because I don't want to tell them off. Like, I don't want to isolate them. But then when I was like, all right, here's the rules. Everyone listen up. You know, after I've done my bit and they've spoken through everything, who cares about me?
Fuck it.
I'm like, here's the thing. I'm going to bring up a comedian. They're going to talk for 10 minutes. I know you can keep it in for 10 minutes. And then they were like, okay. And then they kept it in for 10 minutes.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, okay.
Look at you, the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, it's such such a fucking sacrifice, dude. And you get back on stage and people are like, blah, 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 and you're like,
you're like a
oh my
fucking
God.
cunt.
And you feel like you're just like losing everyone and you're like worried about the next act and you're like, these are your friends, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People that you bring up, like, you know them. You're like, what are you doing? You're like worried about what they're saying. I don't know, man. It's such a,
Yeah.
but it's the exact same thing as comedy in that, like, and now I'm addicted and I must do it all the time so that I can learn how to do it the best and get better at it.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's the only thing where, like, you know, we can't fucking rehearse in a room for 8 hours a day. We have to rehearse on stage with an audience, and that's why you become cunty and desperate sometimes. It's because you need other people to put you on a show for you to practice.
Yes.
Like, imagine every time you need to practice the drums, you need to ask a guy or you need to apply to give you 5 minutes on a drum set. Like, motherfucker. You after 2 months, you'd be like, fucking just give me a drum set, okay?
It is so true. It's so fucking funny. Like talking to people who don't do stand-up. Like, you know, when you meet people, right? You ever meet people?
Hey,
you ever meet people?
You ever meet someone on the street?
And they're like, oh, you do stand-up? That's amazing. And it's like, how often do you get paid? And I'm like, listen.
Dear, I mean, how much people don't understand.
Oh, it's
like,
unbelievable. And maybe I didn't understand either.
Yeah, they're like, how much money are you making off stand-up? I'm like, first of all, I don't count because I'm not gay.
I'm not an accountant.
Because it's like, money in stand-up, it's like, until I enter fucking 8 years maybe, I don't think I'll ever even, like, you know, also I've done a lot of shows where they ended up not. You know this game of like, yeah, I'll give it to you next, like, oh yeah, it's like, it's $15, like, you don't want to be a, but it's this thing of like, dude, stand-up is like, we practice for ever, but eventually for like 10 years to learn how to do it good once. Like, what are you fucking talking about?
Yeah, and like also, and people being like, oh, like, and then, so I want to come to this gig. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you can. I'm doing 7 minutes. Like, 7 minutes, is that it? And I'm like, dude, that's a fucking pretty good amount of time.
Dude, 7 minutes is most open mics, and like,
yeah, 7 minutes in heaven.
England and the States give you fucking 2 and 3 minutes. Like,
yeah, like, no, like, oh, it's not your own show, and I'm like, what do you expect? What is happening?
You think we're not fucking actors? like, they come to my one, like. No,
do you think I could do my own show every night of the week?
Fucking insane.
Yeah.
No, but we're jumping on people that are trying to pay the rent by tricking 15 people to come into a back room and donate 10 euros at the end of it so they can get 150 euros. And if they do it 4 times a week, they pay rent.
Yeah.
And that's it. And they're blessing us with 5 to 10 minutes of mediocre stage time for people that half of the time don't even want to be there.
Yeah.
That's what doing stand-up is. And then twice a week, we also get invited to do a nicer show. And then they give us like 10, 20, 30 bucks if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And we're happy troopers, and that's why we... Yeah, fuck. Jesus. Oh, the camera's off again. Ugh.
Oh, God.
But yeah, no, that's the most like hilarious aspect of like how people really don't get. Because also if you do anything else for like 3-4 years, normally like you're getting quite comfortable and proficient at it. Whereas like with stand-up is like, I mean, the same that you just said, where like I finally feel like I'm writing for my own voice. Like also like it's been the same for me where you get comfortable quite quickly depending on the scene you are and how much opportunity you like get some form of comfort in the first years where you're like, oh, it feels like it's going somewhere, you have better sets. But then like also for me, this is the first year where I'm like, oh, I'm getting closer to having a proper cadence on stage. Like I'm getting closer to writing stuff that's like so particular to my voice. I always wrote stuff that was particular to me, but like now you're writing for your voice, and you know, like you write something and you know it's gonna work a little bit more because you know how your voice works on stage. Like now it's like it feels like the first couple of layers have been peeled off and there's only 75 more. Like it's this but yeah, it's the kind of constant battle. And that's why I kind of freak out when people are like arrogant or like too confident or too full of themselves. I'm like, are we doing a different thing? It's like, are we in
Yeah.
a different, like, completely different?
There's so many non-self-aware people in stand-up. I feel like it's either one or the other. You know what I
think
mean?
you're either hyper aware
Yeah.
or not at all.
You're either like, I mean, yeah. You just meet people that are like, I'm killing it, and I'm like, what are you hearing? Because what I'm hearing is
Because the word on the street is
Yeah, exactly. And then I
you
feel like
suck.
the other bunch of people were like, why did they give me a spot? You know, like that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Every time I get given a
Oh my
spot, I'm
God.
like, thank you. Like,
Yeah. Like, you want me to do a show?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm not a comic.
Oh my God.
People call me a comic. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah. No,
I'm a barista.
Yeah. I have a little bit of confidence. I think I'm in between where I'm like,
Okay.
I expect certain things to come to me.
Yes, I know what you mean.
But I think the only reason I've developed a little bit of a resentment or a feeling like I could deserve a tiny bit more at times is even though I'm only humbled by what we do and I always feel like every time I figure out something or every time I do really well, I'm like, okay, we're fucking 0.7% of the way. Like, I'm very humbled to the thing, but just sometimes there's this kind of like aspect of just being in a scene for long enough where you just see so many people get booked for so many things that you're like, I get it, but, you know, been around a little bit longer, I've done a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like, you could throw me a bone once in a while. Like, I'm not expecting I know I'm also like a little bit more of a oddball and sometimes not the most consistent of performers, but also like, come on, you've seen me do shows with the person you've booked 7 times this year and paid, where, come on, like,
Yeah.
like, I don't know, like, I have a little bit of that lately where I'm like, I don't ever like have the energy of like, look, like, I always shit on myself, I shit on my act, I don't have the most confidence, I'll fuck around, and sometimes I'm okay with myself for 5 seconds during an entire week or calendar month, whatever. But just sometimes just seeing the scene around you all the time just makes you a little bit like, come on, dude.
It's such like totally. I definitely have those moments as well. I'm like, what? I could do that. And then the other time I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It feels like the same with dating, where it's like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm so ugly. No one wants to date me. And then like someone's like, hey, they're interested in me. I'm like, you think you can get this?
You think?
Yeah, you reckon? Like it's exactly the same.
Dude,
It's either no confidence or too much confidence. There's nothing in between.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I've spent the last 2 winters in absolute hibernation, where I'm like, I come back to Berlin, and I'm like, I'm gonna focus on my shit. I don't know, and then 0 confidence all winter, 0 dating. Last winter was the same. I went 9 months without 1 date, 1 flirting, 1 like nothing,
Whoa.
no sex, nothing for the first time in my life. 9 months, and then for like 5 months I was like in fucking. It was like a bukkake, like it was like insane,
Yeah.
just insanity, only confidence, hooking up, like just everything. And then I came back, and then again this winter I'm like, I broke up with fucking like 3 people at some point because I was like, I'm doing stuff. I don't know if this like. It's just yeah.
Such yeah, totally.
Yeah, and then like 1 month goes by after you've made all these decisions, and you're like, I can't do all these things. And then 1 month goes by, and you're like, why does no one wanna suck my dick this what? Like, why don't you kiss me on the neck a little bit? Like, don't you like me at all?
So ugly.
And it's like, oh wow, like a month ago I was like, fucking scat, hey,
Yes,
hey,
hey.
fucking get out of here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same.
It is the same.
It is the
right?
same.
It's the same as stand-up.
No,
100%.
and I don't. This has happened to me like 3-4 times with stand-up, where I'm going through a stretch where I'm destroying, like a stretch of maybe like 5 to 20 shows, maybe depending on the time. But like sometimes it's like 5, 6, 7 shows where you're like, everything is killing, and you throw in new stuff, it's killing. You do improv, crowd work, ad libs, it's killing. And you're like, all of a sudden, like, might be like 1, 2, 3 weeks, and you're like, motherfucker, suck my dick. I'm funny as a motherfucker. And then you do, and then there's like a nice show coming up, and you're like, what, this? What, me? Fucking kill it. And say, dude, I do this all the time. Do it all day. Fucking give me a mic. Ooh. And then you go up, and you're doing your fucking best, you're like, good show, warm crowd. You're fucking so funny. And then you go up, and the first joke just doesn't work. And then you're like, what the fuck? And then you go to another joke, nothing. And you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then just death. And then maybe it's happened to me like 3-4 times this exact way, where then the 3 to 10 shows after that, it's just like trying not to bomb.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, wasn't it like 24 hours ago
Wasn't I the best comedian in the world like last week?
Wasn't it the best fucking comedian in the continent, slinging dick left and right, fingering myself on like, what the fuck just happened? And you just kind of like all of a sudden, like, just fucking, you're part of like an explosion, and it's like now you have like PTSD, and you're just like looking left, and you hear loud noises, and you fucking what the fuck is that?
It's so, and also it's so hard to like. I think about often. I'm like, I don't know where I'm at in the scene. Like, I have no idea what people say about me. I don't know what my reputation is.
Very high up, very quickly.
Okay, great, good to know.
I mean, I don't talk to comedians anymore.
But from your point of view, on Paris's diary, I'm like right up there.
My second and third-ish year, I was the first time that I was like, oh, I'm part of the stand-up comedy scene in Berlin. Like, I would hang out, people would hang out, we'd talk shop, we'd talk shit. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I'm finally in. And then I came back after the summer, and then everyone's doing their own thing. I'm not bumping into anyone. I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay.
It's so like I can't conceptualize it, and there's with different producers. There's different things as well. Like I go through like phases of getting booked a lot by 𝐾𝕐𝐺, which is like massive one here, and then that kind of dies off for a bit, and then I get booked like, headline a couple spots, that's cool. But then another producer might give me 5 minutes. I'm like, what is everyone thinking? Am I good? Am I bad? What are we doing?
But let me give you some perspective, because I've been in just this one scene for all this time. And your metric is, oh, but this producer just booked me for the shorter spot. Whereas my perspective is, oh, those people don't book me at all. These open mics will give me a fucking... That's the funny part, is like the only good spots I get are at shitty open mics, where I get sometimes the 7 or 10 minutes at the shitty open mic because they've known me for a while. But it's like, I've never fucking done any 𝐾𝕐𝐺 shit. I've never been on it. So it's like you're weighing good spots versus bad spots, whereas I'm weighing mediocre spot versus no spot. So that tells you a bit more about where you are. You are in a very good place, my love.
Okay, great. Cool, thank you. That's all I needed. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Well, you don't have to deal with feeling blackballed by half the producers.
Is this because of your improv era?
I don't know. Yeah, I'll go dirty very quickly.
But half the fucking like scenes are themed dirty.
Yeah, but like 𝐾𝕐𝐺 don't like that.
Oh yeah.
So 𝐾𝕐𝐺 excluded me. Just also I never did the same 5 minutes at the open mics at 𝐾𝕐𝐺.
Yeah,
whereas they want to see the same exact 5 minutes 4 times, and they'll book you at some point for a showcase. Whereas like I'd do a 5-minute thing that killed, then a 5-minute thing that was like, it was shit, and then one that was okay, one that was good again. So it's like it doesn't work with their like business model. And then there's just certain shows that I didn't know were not open mics, even though they're kind of played like open mics. Like early on, no one told me shit. I didn't know anything about it. So I would just show up at shows that were like, just apply for a spot. And then I would just like fuck around. And apparently those shows just required me to do a very tight set and just be very, like, it's all those things where like I feel like I was like a little bit too crazy and unpredictable, and not always that structured and funny consistently. But then I would just have my really good moments, and then it's shit like that. I mean that's what happens, because it's like stand-up is a business more than anything here, and it's like they're just looking for like the best product. Like it makes sense. But just because I normally only respond to like fun ideas and personalities and gestures. Like if I book a comedy show, I just want like, okay, I want a fucking weird guy. I want a really funny, playful, silly person. I want a girl that like, I like this kind of like extreme range and silliness and insanity and unpredictability. But most people just want like 5 people that can do like a nice, okay, 5 minutes and talk about having a job and having a girl or whatever, and then the host does an hour and a half, and then he gets paid at the end.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that wouldn't work in that environment anyway.
Totally. There's not a lot of places you can experiment here at all. And like you said, it's like even the things that are like advertised as open mics but you don't get paid, they still expect you to fucking do well. Or they'll label it as a showcase, but they'll give you like 5 years.
5 years, yeah.
Yeah, and
you're like,
it's
oh.
just like, oh, well, that's not, I would like, what?
Yeah.
I'd rather get paid nothing and have the opportunity to do some new shit.
Yeah, some open mics now pay better than some showcases.
Oh, dude. Well, a lot of showcases are shutting down too. Like, I guess it's not. They can get comics to do the same shit in an open mic.
Yeah, I mean, you have the same lineups everywhere anyway.
Yeah. It is divided, isn't it? Like, it is a very interesting scene. And then, like, I feel like I'm in heaps of other scenes though, like, don't get me wrong. But there is, like, you know who the open micers is and you know who the showcases are, and like they cross over, you know what I mean? Because it's like an open mic is a crossover of people who are doing it for the first time and a crossover of experiments who aren't. And I feel like here, not the case. An open mic is comedians who've been doing it for long enough, doing new shit, and show ups are the only true open mics, and it's people I've never seen anywhere else. And I'm like, man, if you start comedy here unless you know people, how do you get spots? Because like, you gotta be shit for a bit.
Oh yeah.
And we don't allow people to be shit.
There's no more time for being shit in Berlin. It's a weird thing where like, because a lot of the open mics I was doing when I started now only have 2-year comics and above on. Like, I mean, it's a weird thing because also like when I started, there were very few people doing stand-up in Berlin, and that was fucking like 4 years ago. And still it was maybe a third or fourth of the scene right now, and shows were fucking half of the ones we have now. But also like most open mics had at least 4 comedians that just started, or like it was very open mic. And now you go to open mics and you're like, oh, here's everyone that runs shows and does, because there's also this thing of like, all of us need the spots, and half of us run shows. So it's like, if you run a show, you cannot book the people that book you.
Yeah, so true.
Because they actually do want the stage time. It's not like now they run shows so they don't need your open mic. It's like that's most of their Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So, and Sunday maybe. So it's like, so when you start that, and like 8 out of the 20 people that apply for a spot are people that run shows and get you on their shows. You gotta book some of them every week. And then, like, But, yeah, we need more, like, show up to sign up shows. The Wall used to have it almost every Tuesday. Is it still every Tuesday? No.
Tuesdays now is like half sign up, show up. Like sometimes they're like, oh, sorry, it's fully booked this week.
Yeah.
They have like the Wall still has a Sunday show, which is on like I'm hosting heaps. It's that Anna's show.
Yeah.
It's the after party.
Yeah.
But even like the Sunday Slips is not happening anymore apparently.
Yeah. I only did that twice.
Never done it.
Yeah, even though I love Liliana, I love the whole thing. Sundays I never did comedy.
Okay.
I was either recovering from a very strong Friday and Saturday, or starting to party till Monday.
Yeah.
Like that's a great thing with Berlin, is like, especially because it is a city designed by night workers, the parties mostly start Sunday morning and go up till Monday.
Yeah.
So it's like pussies with day jobs party Friday, Saturday, and then the G's, the OGs start work Friday or Saturday and then start partying on Sunday.
Yeah.
So Sunday was my sort of like Sunday we party.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
It's Berghain is Sunday to Monday, and then my favorite party in Berlin happens every other Sunday. So
what's your favorite party in Berlin?
Fandango.
I love Fandango.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Fuck
amazing.
yeah! It's my friends running it, so I go every.
Did you go on Sunday?
I actually didn't, because I landed from London on Sunday and I was fucking trash, no sleep.
Yeah.
I really wanted to go with St. Paddy's.
When's the next one? Is it every Sunday
It's every
now?
yeah. No, it's not this one. What day is it? It's Wednesday. It's like in 10 days next
Okay.
Sunday.
Cool.
Yeah. We'll go.
to-
We'll go to that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love that.
Fuck yeah.
It's the party. I agree.
It is the party. I tried to end the podcast and the camera was off. Okay.
It's fun.
Well, Shannon, thank you for coming to my creepy abode.
Thank you so much for having me.
We'll have another cocktail off camera.
Yes.
Thank you for listening and watching, potentially. 10 of you, 20 of you, or even 73. Yeah. That was fun, babes.
Yeah, it was fun.
Let's get a bit more drunk and then talk about shows.
All right.
See you next week, everybody.
Bye.
Hey.